spending money is done much more openly now and freely now than it was previously. And doing well for yourself is no longer taboo. You don't need to keep it the secret that I feel you once had to. Are you seeing what I'm seing? We are in the midst of a new cultural trend. I'm personally calling it a renaissance. I'd like to know if you agree with me by the end of this episode, and more importantly, what it means for you. So stay tuned, we're covering everything here. This is Real Estate Investing in New York with Christina Kremidas, helping you achieve a future of financial success by making intelligent real estate investment decisions today. Look around you the next time you're out in New York City. The new restaurants that are opening, the new hotel interior design choices, what people are wearing in terms of their style. You may feel like you are back in 1920s Great Gatsby, glamorous New York. So what does this all mean for us? We're in a cultural shift, a new period where we are redefining everything from the foods we eat to the clothes we wear to the types of homes we're buying. Here are my examples. I am so excited to see if you agree and if you've been noticing these things yourself. Let's first talk about New York's new dining scene. There have been so many new restaurant openings and announcements, from cocktail lounges to high-end eateries. And the most important thing I've noted about all of these, aside from the focus on high-end quality food, is the interior design. Look at places like Chez Margot. Look at Crane Club. If you haven't seen these places, we're going to be showing photos on the YouTube if you're watching there, but you can just Google this too. Look at Heroes Restaurant and the Pearl Box Cocktail Lounge that's located above it. You have designer restaurant openings like the Blue Box Cafe at Tiffany & Co. You have Le Cafe by Louis Vuitton. There's Cafe Dior with the Instagrammable Dior logo on the lattes. And finally, Prada is likely to open a restaurant in Soho too. When it comes to these restaurant locations, I've noticed the attention to detail and the interior design is absolutely stunning. We're seeing a lot of rich, jewel-toned colors, velvet, red. The color red is now very, very big. The red velvet walls and the leopard carpeting at the Nines Cocktail Lounge, for example. It's just such a 1920s Great Gatsby style aesthetic. And I personally love it. I've loved it for a very long time. My whole personal style and apartment has been revolving around that for years now. And I'm finally seeing the general vibes start to catch on, not just in restaurants, but in interior design in general. When we're talking about restaurants, it's not just about the interior design, but look at the foods. What have been the most trendy foods that we've been seeing lately? There has been a total fetish with caviar. Everybody all of a sudden knows about caviar, and people that have never eaten caviar before have flocked to their nearest store to buy a container of caviar to give it a try. Everybody is making bellinis, creme fraiche, and doing the whole caviar thing. Caviar parties, everything. There's caviar everywhere now, and that really wasn't the case a few years ago. There are a couple of influencers that put that on the map, and the trend has just gone crazy from there. There's one popular influencer named Danielle that really has a big responsibility for starting the craze, and I do love her, and she also has a very elevated type of personal style, and I think we all appreciate her content, but there has been a lot of influence towards these more high-end type of, and in many cultures it's not like necessarily high-end, but in general it's an expensive product, right? So there is a big influence in these types of unique and quality ingredients that we've been seeing in modern day dining. Also, look at the martini. Like, never before recent times have I seen a martini in everybody's hand. Everyone wants to love the martini nowadays, even if you don't love the true martini. I see a lot of people spinning off on the traditional martini, making them taste a little bit lighter, a little bit fresher. Just a way of essentially getting that martini glass into your aesthetic has been huge lately. And what about home life? For a long time, we had this like boss babe, overworked culture that was heavily promoted. I know specifically when I graduated college, there were not many jobs to have. Like back in the, early 2010s, like I graduated college in 2012, we were coming off the recession. And the odds are that after graduating, unless you had a good connection, you were probably taking an internship, honestly. And there was really a hustle culture that was very unique to that time. Like every generation was very hardworking, but I think that there was a bigger prevalence than ever before of the culture revolving around work and putting all of the value that someone brings to the table based on how hard they work and how many hours they work. And this I'm noticing shifting finally. I finally see more of a domestic home life being promoted, being idolized. We have a couple of influencers that have been doing it really well that have also been helping to kind of shape this overall trend. There's a personality on Instagram, an influencer that I personally love. Her name is Ani Vanderbeek, and she does a wonderful job at giving us a glimpse into her home life. And she talks about cleaning strategies, like literally how to make your home smell beautiful. And she makes her own cleaning products, and she shows how she folds her towels and her towel warmer, and how she likes specific thread counts, and how she makes her bed to look like it's a luxury hotel, and how she's done her phenomenal interior design. And I think that this is something that is fairly newer in terms of what people idolize, and what people have been looking up to in their lives, right? We're now seeing more everyday luxuries. We're seeing people embroider their own bath towels with their own logo, for example, or with their own monogram to give their own sense of personal style and luxury to their space. This influencer, Ani specifically, made an entire business out of creating house robes, like literally just nice, pretty, luxurious robes that you wear around the house that have her own artwork on them. This is a thing that she created a business around. I mean, there's definitely a little bit of like lounge culture that has come off of the pandemic for us, but a big component of this is just at-home luxury that I do believe is part of this new cultural shift that we're seeing. Another example of an influencer that is a perfect example of this redefinition of home life and our culture around domesticated feminine energy, Nara Smith. What better way of putting that into like a picture, right? Ultra luxury, just bringing an ultra luxury aspirational vision of what it means to be a homemaker, like what it means to keep your family life in order, what it means to like curate your home. She makes all of her family's meals, at least this is the vision that she's putting out on social. She makes things from scratch. She makes her food from scratch. She takes good care of her family, her kids, her husband. She's a mother of three, like young girl. I think three, I don't know. I don't follow anyone that closely, but again, just another example of this like slower looking lifestyle, right? Instead of the rush, like on the go, this is how I did everything in the taxi cab vibe, which is feeling old now. You're seeing this new feeling of slow lifestyle. Like you have the luxury to relax. And that's becoming much bigger now. I think part of it is the fact that We have a new generation of people that have money and that are stepping into their power now in the newer generations. And these people are finally, enjoying what they've worked for. But it's definitely a cultural shift nonetheless. We're seeing more people proud to have wealth, I'm noticing. Like for a while, I feel like in our culture, having wealth was a little bit like cliche. Like it was almost like a secret, You weren't supposed to flaunt it. It was in very bad taste. And you still should never flaunt your wealth, obviously. But I think that people are enjoying and aspiring to a higher level of living. And it's not cliche anymore at all. I think that even the younger people that I see on social media, they'll drink their soda out of a wine glass, for example. And it's just like the little things that you can do to elevate your everyday that I'm seeing more often. But spending money is done much more openly now and freely now than it was previously. And doing well for yourself is no longer taboo. You don't need to keep it the secret that I feel you once had to. In work culture, like you're never talking about your salary. Why? Why is no one talking about how much money they make? Like if you make more than the next person, it's inspiring to people to be around others that know that there's another step that they can take, right? And now it's encouraged to talk about what you earn, because why gatekeep that, right? Like if the company can pay you, they could pay the next person, and the next person should have that voice. So there's much more openness and acceptance of doing well. That's what I see from my perspective. Let's look at interior design. I would love to look at interior design. It's closely related to real estate, and it's a huge component of this overall trend. We are absolutely seeing a 1920s Great Gatsby shift in interior design choices. We're seeing rich jewel tones, deep tones being used in interior design. We're seeing rich fabrics. We're seeing more velvets. We're seeing more suede. We're seeing more leather being used in interior design. We're seeing wallpaper again. Like, I almost wondered if it would ever come back, but wallpaper is huge again. Everybody's wallpapering, whether it's a little accent wall or people are getting bold and doing the whole room. We're seeing floral wallpaper, very Victorian inspired wallpaper, different designs, and deep colors, which is something that you used to only see a while back. Dark red, burgundies, dark blues, greens in a room are totally coming back. Also, the use of wood. I feel like for a while, dark wood was not on trend at all. It was totally out. Now I'm seeing wood everywhere, like wood paneling I see again. And not only in people's existing residences, I'm seeing it in new development. We're seeing wood paneled walls again. Okay, something I never thought would come back. We're seeing a lot of wood popping up in a lot of places. And it's not even your just tapping wood on the shoulder, like with the gray finish that we were seeing for a while. But I'm seeing full on wood, like rich mahogany style wood back. Vintage furniture, something that I always personally loved. I actually grew up in a Victorian home myself, and most of our furniture was curated antique. And I always had an appreciation for it. Very special, it has such a level of detail to it. You could just see that, for example, this chair is an antique that I'm sitting on right now. And you can just feel like someone took care when they made that piece. The detail that goes into it, the sculpture, the carving that goes into it. No details overlooked. And that doesn't happen as much. It hasn't happened as much in a while, where you kind of feel like things now are just like flung together in the cheapest, quickest way they could do it, just to make a profit, right? Is kind of how our culture has been for a while. But we're seeing another return of beautiful vintage furniture and an appreciation for it. I'm seeing it pop up in many more places than I used to. And I'm very happy about it. but it looks like this is just becoming another interior design trend. And I'm hoping that furniture makers nowadays will focus on quality again, focus on detail again. It's difficult to find new furniture that has character. It really is. It took me a very long time to curate the furniture in my own home to be something that I felt, every single piece was chosen very intentionally with the hopes of being able to use it for a long time. But it's difficult to find pieces like that, honestly. Lighting, chandeliers, beautiful, ornate crystal chandeliers we're seeing a lot of. The return of like your very traditional, like vintage looking light fixtures are totally back. We're seeing it everywhere. Even if you're not like on the pulse of interior design, you've seen it. The desk lamp, that quintessential green glass desk lamp with the shade that's green that just faces, like the light faces down. Back, we're seeing replicas of it all over the place. Beautiful, like big floor lamps that have a lot of detail in them. Brass, we're seeing marble fixtures made out of these materials. Again, just to focus on quality and an older, more heritage style. And then opulence in the home, which we kind of spoke about, right? The embroidered bath towels, crystal martini glasses, right? Like you're not just using, I'm sure that there are plenty of consumers that are using like your typical materials, but there's been an emphasis on crystal, right? So this is something that I know my grandparents' generation appreciated, and for a while it was totally forgotten. And now there's an understanding again, like quality materials, people want crystal wine glasses and crystal decanters for their alcohol, for example. It's all returning. How about fashion? Have you noticed that fur is back in a big way? I've been seeing it everywhere. I finally feel like I can take out my fur coats and jackets that were passed down to me without, getting into an altercation wearing it in New York City. And I know that there's always going to be people that hate fur and that stand up for, of course, like animal rights and this, obviously. But it's a trend, take it or leave it. Like, this is just what we're seeing. It's 100% back. And there was a New York Times style article that I saw recently that also shared the same sentiment. And I think the title of the article was, "What Happened to the Stigma of Wearing Fur?" Something along those lines. And the stigma's gone. I don't see much of it at all. Everyone has on their beautiful fur trimmed pieces or their clothing that was passed down to them. I don't know that many people are like going out and buying like full on brand new fur jackets or coats. I don't even know like who's really selling those now. Maybe like furriers, but definitely wearing, their grandmother's jacket or their parents' jacket and seeing a lot of fur trim on things. That's new. Designer pieces, designer logos, like more loud luxury is definitely in. I know that the trend of quiet luxury and like the Loro Piana and, not wanting to show a brand name was a trend for a while, but that has just always been like, that's just quality clothing is always going to be a thing. You don't need to, tout a designer brand. But on the other front, like obvious luxury is definitely prevalent. As much as people want to say it's not, it's definitely there. Logos are very much back, very much a thing. And people aren't afraid to wear them. You're seeing like flashy, chunky statement jewelry again, whereas, for a very long time, we were seeing only, dainty everyday jewelry was like the big thing for a very long time. We're seeing big, heavy earrings. I don't want to say gaudy. Some people say gaudy, but it's vintage looking. The vintage inspired pieces are very popular right now. Those quintessential vintage like clip-on earrings that you would find maybe with like a big pearl on them or something in your grandma's jewelry box, you're wearing out now and it's beautiful. Everything has come back in this cycle. What about music? Music is a huge example of this, and I see music as a huge defining factor in culture. I think music plays a huge role in culture. It's a reflection of how people are feeling, but it also influences how people are feeling. And music back in the earlier 1900s, mid 1900s, I feel it was more happy. It was like kind of happy music. Like think about Frank Sinatra. And if you're familiar with any of those songs from that time, music was positive. If you read the words of the music, it was positive. If you were singing that song out loud, you weren't saying bad things. Like you weren't saying negative things. You were saying more positive things. And of course, there were songs that were not as happy, but that's just the way that I recall it being. And now I'm starting to see the return of happy music. I mean, this has been a long time since I've seen something really quite like this. But an artist that I saw recently become very popular, her name is Sammy Ray. And her band, if you have not heard them yet, I encourage you to please give them a listen. My sister introduced me to this artist, and what a breath of fresh air. I mean, I call her our modern day Frank Sinatra. Please give her songs a listen. It is happy music. It's music that you put on and you feel like your wavelength is increasing in a good way. It's elevating. Your mood is elevating. Your frequency is good. It is back to the basics, I feel. And this is special. This is something that I feel is very special. I am not the biggest music fanatic, but one of the biggest issues that I have with music is because of the fact that I'm very conscious of the words that I listen to and I say. I put a very big importance on words, and when I hear negative things, it's very disturbing to me. And a lot of music nowadays is very disturbing to me. It's been that way for a long time. I mean, I grew up listening to rock music. I love and appreciate all kinds of music, but the words are disturbing, period, to me. That's just how it has always been. I can listen to Sammy Ray and I feel super happy the whole way through. And I do believe that we are on the forefront of a new trend in music, and I hope to see more music like hers. Right now, she can be the special one, the new one doing her thing. But yeah, this is something that I've also seen as a great example of the overall shift that I've been talking about. Look at religion. I notice personally, and I don't know if everyone is seeing it too, but I assume, because I feel like I have a very good sense of what's being said and, cultural updates and things like this. But religion, I've seen, has been much more public, right? Like it used to be, if you were at like church or a religious celebration, you were just doing it privately, more so, not because you were like ashamed of it, but it just wasn't really anyone's business. And now I am seeing a huge emphasis on religion. I'm seeing another resurgence again of religious jewelry. I'm seeing religious artwork in listings in real estate that I come across. Just recently, I was in a listing and I saw a big, beautiful, modern looking portrait of Mary and Jesus, like baby Jesus, I saw. And it's just an example of, firstly, how life in general is more public, right? Life in general is more public nowadays thanks to social media, but people are sharing their values again. And previously, I also feel like we were being taught to kind of put our religious views or our values secondarily, and that it couldn't be used as a way of connecting with others because that was wrong, right? And like we would never discriminate. Like I'm personally never one to discriminate, but I do see that people are, culturally reconnecting on that level with people. And, I think it's a very nice thing. And I've been seeing a mix of cultures and a mix of religions, obviously loving each other and coming together, different, but with a belief, like with a value system, right? It's like, even if you don't believe what someone else believes, you have a set of values. And that some might argue that, that is a certain air of luxury in itself, right? So, just the respect for that, the tradition, the routine, there is a respect for that. So it's an interesting movement. It's just an interesting thing that I've seen in culture. And then, of course, you have your private social clubs. I see a big emphasis on like our private supper clubs that have popped up. We're way beyond the, the beginnings of like the Soho House and like these types of clubs, but now I see more elevated clubs. There's the Casa Cipriani that has been making a lot of amenity updates located downtown, right? Even like to have something like that downtown is different. You don't think of downtown as like your private club type of like membership club situation. But yeah, it's, it's there for sure. And it's just another example of this overall trend that I've noticed. I see people hosting, gatherings that don't need to be formal at all. For decades now, we've seen the trends of like pajamas. Like you're wearing pajamas out, you're wearing pajamas to school, you're doing birthday parties in your pajamas, you're going out. Like it was very, very casual for a very, very long time. Now I'm seeing regular informal gatherings that have a black tie dress code, even if it's at someone's home. Like you're seeing people throw parties in their own home, but they're wearing gala attire. Again, I love it. I personally love it 100%. It aligns with, my personality. But, even if you don't, I'm sure you're seeing it, right? You're seeing it around. And that's just one of the many reasons, like the above that I've been talking about. So what does this all mean for us, right? Like, okay, there's a style, there's a new wave, like there's a cultural renaissance, there's a aesthetic renaissance, as I'm calling it. But what does it really mean for us? I think that we will be seeing a more traditional feeling culture, kind of like a return to roots. Definitely an emphasis on quality over quantity. I definitely see that. Decor and staging, especially in real estate, like if you have an apartment to sell, you definitely need to measure up. Like you can't go all white with like a cactus in the corner anymore. That's not doing it. It's not resonating. It's not really on trend as much anymore. And I hate to say on trend because no one should be the judge of whether or not you like something. So I don't want to say it that way. But still, like it's good to be aware of what is being well received and what is becoming more common to say. When you're renovating your home, keep this in mind. You don't have to do the all white approach anymore. The all white marble, I'm not even seeing it much anymore at all. Like we're seeing more unique marble with greens, deep greens, pinks, reds. We're seeing a much more flexible color palette nowadays. And when you're doing a renovation, you want to do something that will stand the test of time. So even neutrals are less just sterile all white and more on the warmer, like creams and browns and burgundies that I would recommend going with if you were doing a renovation nowadays. Like for example, do not take your crown molding down. Do not get rid of it. A lot of people were getting rid of their molding, their original moldings. If you have those original herringbone floors that have like the patterns in the corner in the wood, please don't rip it up. Don't rip it out. Just restore it and it will pay you back tenfold. I also expect in real estate for the facade of new development buildings to change and become more beautiful. This is a hope for me, and any developers that I work with moving forward will definitely have that recommendation from me. The facade, I do believe that we'll start seeing less of like your modern, super sleek, super plain glass and steel type of exterior. I do think that we will see a return of more beauty to the facade of buildings. Of course, you always want big windows and that will still be there, but I do believe that we'll see more beauty on the exterior facades of buildings. I'm very much looking forward to that. So yeah, to sum it up, I think that the way people are speaking today is different than it was for a long time. The way that you want to be speaking if you're marketing a product now is definitely different than it was. It's something to definitely be aware of. So if you want to resonate, if you want to sell your product, or if you want to be relatable now, I do think that you'll need to align with the new set of ideals, the new tone, and the new aesthetic. So I hope that you found this episode interesting and insightful and helpful. If you ever have any questions after listening to any of my episodes, please email me or reach out to me. My email address is christina.kremidas@element.com. And you can also check out my website, ChristinaKremidas.com, where you'll find all of the information about myself, my team, and all of the ways that you can contact me. Follow on Instagram and TikTok. My handle on both of those apps is Christina.Kremidas. Thank you guys so much, as always, for being here. And of course, stay tuned for the next one.